How men feel about women demanding equality and power. Yes, you can actually find out how men feel. There's a book on the subject, 10 years in the making, or almost. The author is Anthony Astrachan, and he's here talking with us right now. Okay, so let me ask the question, how do men feel?
Well, the one-word answer, of course, is ambivalent. But it's, I mean, we all knew that already.
Right.
But one of the things I found in my research was that there's a whole array of emotions, both negative and positive, that people haven't thought very much about. On the negative side, and the negative side is stronger in most men.
Now, we're talking about in the workforce, basically, right?
Well, in my book, I talk half the time about what happens when women come into traditionally masculine occupations.
Right.
And the other half about what happens at marriage and parenting and in bed. These changes are related. The demand for equality and power works at home as well as at work.
Key word here being power.
Yes, very much.
How does power play the role?
Well, when women want equal pay for equal work, when they want an equal crack at a top job, they're asking for equality of power. When they want to be equal in power to the traditional husband at home who thought he gave the orders, that's also a demand for power, and people don't always realize that. They think it's only a question of sex roles, but power is at play.
Is it actually, I mean, when you're talking about power, is it a male-female thing? I mean, there are power plays between men and women in the office every day.
Well, there certainly are. And one of the important things is that while most people with real power are men, most men don't have much power. And so when women demand power, that forces us to recognize how little power most of us have.
One of the stories in the book is about a guy who went on an outward bound trip with his boss, who was a woman who was at the tiller on the raft, and well, he tried to sabotage.
She wasn't actually his boss in the workplace, but he told this story as an example of what a man will do to subvert a female boss, because she was the skipper on the outward bound raft. And these guys who thought that they favored equality for women found themselves so impatient with her mistakes that they made it worse for her and almost shipwrecked the raft. And he offered this as an example of what men will do even unconsciously.
Do men react differently when, you mentioned mistakes, do men react differently when men make mistakes or when women make mistakes? There is
well, there's a tendency when a man makes a mistake to say, well, this guy made a mistake. When a woman, especially when there's only a small number of women in that particular company or industry makes a mistake, there's the easy tendency to say, ah, women make this kind of mistake.
Interesting. You found the other type of man, though, also.
Yes, there are many men who are supportive, who have positive feelings, who do positive things, who actually, there are some men who even actually find pleasure in a woman doing a good job. It's easy when it's your wife or your daughter. Lots of men are turned on to this problem by what happens to their daughters.
That's one of the things I noticed, a guy who said he was incensed because his daughter only considered careers in nursing and teaching.
Right, and when she was about 13, which was now 8 or 9 years ago, she said this to him, and he had to sit down and talk to her and convince her that it was okay for her to want to be a doctor or a lawyer. Because she said, Uncle Tom is a lawyer, I can't be a lawyer, it's a man's job. And he said, but you can be. He was a guy who worked, he was a data processing executive. He also got mad about what happened to women in his own field. Okay. His daughter became a math major.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. And the name of the book is How Men Feel. If you're interested, it's at the bookstore, no doubt. Still to come from the News Center this noon, Bill Ross.